Well, as expected, it is now official. The ACC has added SMU, Cal, and Stanford. We have a lot of details, including who it was that flipped to make this happen. Welcome into the channel. I am John Kurtz. Here on this channel, we talk conference realignment, college football, college basketball, all from a Big 12 angle. Please consider subscribing if you have not already. Like the video, comment on the video, all of that stuff helps, and you can support the channel on Venmo at John-Kurtz-4. We're going to read from Pete Thamel's story at ESPN. Obviously, to me, the preeminent reporter in college football right now. There was a lot to come out about what went down to get all three of these schools into the ACC, and some of the details are wild, including the concessions financially that SMU is going to make. But let's dive right into it. The ACC, this is Pete Thamel, is expanding from its eastern roots. The presidents and chancellors met Friday morning and voted to add three schools, Stanford, Cal, and SMU. It will bring the league to 18 members. 17 will play football full-time in the league. The additions are in all sports and will begin in the 2024-25 school year. The move unfolded in an atypical process, as votes in league matters usually are cast as unanimous and are simply a formality when presidents meet to decide. The ACC needed 12 of 15 votes, and heading into the meeting on Friday morning, it was uncertain whether the league actually had the votes, a significant variance from how conference expansion typically works. It was officially a 12-3 vote. A 12-3 vote for the ACC, with NC State being the school that flipped. That is according to multiple sources from ESPN. And speaking of NC State, here is a quote from the NC State Chancellor, Randy Woodson, who is really drawing a lot of attention with his decision to go ahead and make this move. He says, quote, "The NC State brand and historical competitiveness of our programs is already well recognized and established. The addition of these outstanding universities gives us even greater opportunities to build on the Wolfpack's national presence, which in turn will generate more long-term benefits for our student athletes, athletic programs, and fan base." From Thamel here, and this is what I really want to get into, the focus on Woodson intensified Thursday night when members of the University of North Carolina's Board of Trustees issued a statement to voice their objection to the additions. That move was perceived around the ACC as a political statement intended to ensure UNC Chancellor Kevin Gushevich didn't flip his vote. UNC and NC State did not need to be tied together, but some of the uncertainty around Woodson's vote came from the political ramifications of not being aligned with North Carolina. Florida State also voted no. So Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, those are your no votes. NC State switched, and a lot of the common thought around North Carolina had been, hey, NC State is going to do whatever it is that North Carolina wants to do, right? That was some of the reporting at the time when we first found out about this block of four that were preventing it from happening, that NC State wants to just tie itself to North Carolina, hope that they wind up in whatever conference North Carolina ends up in, which I think we all realize at some point is not going to be the ACC. And because of the political pressures there, NC State would probably not divert from this. But now the Wolfpack have, which is a very, very interesting decision. And we'll see if there are any ramifications or consequences from that, or is this NC State conceding, hey, North Carolina may just leave us high and dry at some point, whether we like it or not, we might as well backfill the conference and try to make this as viable as possible. Here was the statement from Florida State President Richard McCullough. He said, "We appreciate the efforts of Commissioner Phillips and our conference partners. There are many complicated factors that led us to vote no. That said, we welcome these truly outstanding institutions and look forward to working with them as our new partners in the ACC." So a diplomatic statement of sorts there from Florida State, who has been totally freewheeling this thing and holding public board meetings where they're saying that they're going to leave. So that was a little more measured, I would say, from Florida State with that statement. Back to Thamel's article. He says, "Cal, Stanford, and SMU will come at a significant discount, which will help create a revenue pool to be shared among ACC members. SMU is expected to come in for 9 years with no broadcast media revenue," sources told ESPN. Cal and Stanford will each start out receiving just a 30% share of ACC payments. 9 years, all right? The number that had been floated previously was 7 for SMU. So they got SMU up to 9 years where they will not take in any of that $30+ million from the TV contract. They just don't get it, and the boosters will have to foot that bill. So, I mean, you can do some quick math there. I mean, we're approaching close to like $300 million that is going to have to be funded by boosters at SMU. So they're going to dip deep into those pockets in order to make this move. The money being withheld is expected to create an annual pot of revenue between $50 and $60 million for the ACC. some of which will be divided proportionately among the 14 full-time members in Notre Dame, and another portion will be put in a pool designated for success initiatives that reward programs that win. For Stanford and Cal, it will be 30% of a whole ACC share for the next 7 years. That number jumps from 30 to 70 in year 8 and to 75% in year 9, and then full financial shares in the 10th year. For SMU, the decision to forego television revenue gave it a seat at a major conference, and the school will lean on its wealthy boosters to help it stay afloat. Of course, SMU got the death penalty. They didn't play football in 87 and 88, and it's been a long time coming for SMU. Clearly a day of celebration for them above all else. And hey, SMU wanted it badly. They went out there and got it. We'll see what this decision winds up looking like 4, 5, 6 years from now. But they felt like it was their last shot to get into a Power 5 conference. With the way power is consolidating in the sport, you cannot blame them for trying to make this sort of a move. If you got the money, you might as well do it. And that is what SMU did. If you want a little more analysis piece on this, I'm taking this from The Athletic. I think it's pretty good analysis as to why this happened, why it wound up passing. I know it's easy to look at it and say, hey, the geography makes absolutely no sense. We are well beyond the point of things needing to make sense in conference realignment. That is not where we are at, unfortunately, right now. But I think this sums it up pretty well. The Athletic says this realignment move is different than all the others that preceded it. This one was about survival, both for the schools and the league itself. The Big 12 didn't expand in 2016 and nearly fell apart 5 years later. The Pac-12 didn't expand in 2021 and did fall apart 2 years later. Unlike those conferences, the ACC won't be blindsided when Florida State and others eventually leave. The Seminoles have been very loud and open about it. Perhaps the extra money will keep them content for a little while longer, but there's nothing the ACC can do to equal the Big 10 and SEC financially where FSU feels it needs to be. If you're not a Big 2 conference, you need enough bodies to withstand losing your biggest brands. The opportunity to add elite schools like Stanford and Cal doesn't come around often. They fit the ACC profile in everything but geography. Of course, the geography of this move doesn't make any sense. Neither did many of the other moves. You can dislike this new era of conference makeup. I sure do, but the ACC needed to do something to survive in it. It's pretty well stated. This is a move about trying to create a little bit of extra money, a little bit of extra revenue. Maybe that can appease Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina just a bit. It's not going to fully satisfy their needs, but it's a little bit of a bone to them. And then you are preparing for schools to leave. Like we've talked for a long time on this channel about the Big 12 positioning itself to be the third best conference in the country and scoop up the ACC leftovers when the ACC inevitably imploded. This is a move trying to say, hey, even if some of those schools leave, we'll still have enough to field a conference. It's not necessarily going to automatically blow up. I suppose we'll have to see how that plays out because, your Louisville, Virginia Tech, Pitts of the world could all still decide to try and make some sort of move like that too. Particularly like Louisville and Pitt, I would think would be leading the charge toward coming to the Big 12 at that point. Maybe it still happens, maybe it doesn't, but this is a little bit of extra protection for the ACC. Also, Brett McMurphy had reported at one point if the conference fell below 15 members, that ESPN could renegotiate the contract and perhaps you'd be getting less in TV money there. So a couple of different pieces of strategy here that the ACC is executing and making this move. But it's official. It's here, a little bit delayed because of the unfortunate shooting on the campus of North Carolina that pushed that vote back. But we got here, and now the ACC has, in fact, added those 3 schools. It's going to be wild. There are talks of playing neutral site games in Dallas for teams in the ACC, especially these teams on the West Coast and non-revenue sports, which is just a crazy wild idea. But we are just here at a place where none of this really makes any sense. It is really happening. That's the update. Stay tuned to the channel for more. Got another video coming for you tomorrow, plus the live shows on Wednesday and Sunday. Great place to interact. So make sure you're subscribed if you are not, to be a part of that. Join the live shows. They are a lot of fun. Click the bell so you know when it is that I am going live. You get those alerts. You can support the channel on Venmo at John-Kurtz-4. Please like the video and comment in the comment section whether you love me, hate me, agree, disagree. All of that stuff helps. So I do appreciate it. Thank you. Take care, and I will talk to you soon.